This is Garrison Hayes, and from what I can tell, he has an amazing YouTube video. But I want to talk about his opinion on why black people are still Christian. Now, I did a video on someone who is Christian, and I challenged that. I have no hatred towards people who are Christian. And now I'm going to react to someone who's an atheist. I have no hatred towards people who are atheist. But I will be challenging his points. The only argument that's really good against Christianity is if it's real, prove it. Every other argument is pointless. But let's see what he has to say.
One of the first slave ships that brought black people to the New World was named Jesus. White Christians used Bible verses and Bible stories to justify slavery. There was a time when white Christians wouldn't baptize black people because they weren't sure if it was okay to enslave Christians. They quickly changed their theology, baptized their black slaves, and forthrightly sent them back to the fields to work. 4, both black and white prosperity preachers have scammed millions of dollars from faithful black parishioners living in American slums. 5, it is an undeniable fact that Christianity has been a tool of oppression for black people all throughout the world. And yet today, black Americans identify as Christians at a staggering 79%, higher than any other group in this country. So the question is, why are black people still Christians?
So let's address these points one by one. Starting with the slave ship was called Jesus. Okay, but if the slave ship was called sugar, does that mean that black people should stop consuming sugar? The fact that bad people use good things for maniacal reasons does not mean that good people should abandon things that they perceive as good. The second point was white people used Christianity to justify slavery. Well, this will shock you, but Christianity is not a white religion. It's an international religion. And people in Ethiopia had the religion as well, and they didn't use it to justify slavery. In fact, it was one of the religions that were used to oppose slavery all over Africa, from the Kingdom of Congo, Ethiopia, Central Africa, Sudan. Several places in the world and in Africa saw it as a form of strength. What am I trying to say? Well, what I'm trying to say is that this anti-Western take is a Western take, and it highlights the supremacy of Western Christianity over any other. Abandoning Christianity is not just abandoning Western Christianity, you will be abandoning the Ethiopian Christians who have never taken slaves, even if they were Christian. The next claim is that people in the past didn't want to baptize the black slaves because they were going to take them to the field, and then they didn't want to enslave Christians and stuff like that. But here's the problem with that claim. The way he framed it was they didn't want to baptize black people. They did baptize black people. Europeans baptized black people all over Africa. The problem was a moral quandary of, is it okay to enslave Christians? Now, again, I will say it. Those people were horrible people, the people in the West at the time. But that has nothing to do with Christianity. Christianity is very different. This is putting Christianity on the same level as the Western world. This is what people in the West do when they say Christianity equals the Western world. It does not. Christianity did not originate in the Western world, and it is not the Western world. And in fact, it was opposite the Western world for the longest time. Did they use it to justify their claims? Yes. But people use everything to justify their claims. The same way that today we have all kinds of movements that try to use nature, and they try to use nurture, and they try to use schools and everything in the world to justify their claims. The way they did that was to omit parts that contradict them. Omitting a part of your scripture is not the same as the scripture itself allowing something to happen. The next one is the fact that people have been scammed in churches. Well, believe it or not, but there is no place on this earth that you can go and not get scammed. I don't care what you do and where you do it, there's scammers waiting everywhere. All places have scammers. But if you say, I got scammed in this religion, therefore I'm abandoning the religion, you're not abandoning the religion, you're giving it up to the scammers. And so the only people left, if all the good people abandon religion, then who is left holding the religion at the end of the day? Nothing but the scammers. His last point is that Christianity has been a tool to oppress black people all over the world for, a long time, and therefore they should abandon it. And he says the people in Christianity, even though this oppression happened, something like 70 something percent of the population in America are still Christian. Well, let's think about this for a second. Is there a problem with that statement? It's very simple. It's the mirror of that. Christianity has played a big role in the oppression of anybody, really. Forget black people around the world. In Europe, it held them back. In the Islamic world, not the Islamic world, the Middle East, and in Africa, it had its negatives and positives. But the positives is what's missing from this conversation. Where are the positives about what Christianity has done in making people hold the ground, keep the faith when times were hard? Where's the part about the charity and the willingness of Christians to share positivity when nothing else would ever make them do that, where they thought it was their Christian duty? And I'm not just talking about one place. Ethiopia, the place I was talking about, was once searched by Europeans for Prester John. Prester John being a Christian saint, which they thought was going to help them against the Muslims. This is the part that's missing from this history, that Africa does not have a 100% negative history with Christianity, and then America does not either. It is only through the lens of Western control that we are looking at this, and I don't think that's fair.
And while we're at it, I actually think there's a more pressing, more existential question that needs an answer. Does God hate black people? In nearly every country on every continent around the world, darker-skinned people are treated poorly. By nearly every measurable standard, so-called black people are at the bottom of the social hierarchy everywhere.
You mean, of course, except all of the countries where they're not treated like the lowest. Places like several countries in Africa where the people who run the country are black and the people who are the richest in the countries are black. There might be oppression in the sense, or there might be financial disparity, and there might be all kinds of poor people in those countries, but those people are not the entire country. Places like Ethiopia, for example, have controlled their own version of Christianity for well over 1,000 years. To tell the Ethiopians that Christianity has been nothing but oppressive to them would be probably the dumbest thing on earth. Now, I'm not calling this person dumb. I'm just saying that it is not true that Christianity has just put everybody down. And in fact, Christianity in the beginning seemed to be highly in the favor of the black people. For example, Abraha, the Ethiopian, took over Yemen, and this brand of Christianity affected Islam, another religion which would be highly influenced by black people.
So much so that in majority black countries like Haiti and Nigeria, skin lightening creams are wildly popular. Anything to gain some proximity to whiteness and some distance from blackness.
And that's the fault of Christianity. How exactly? Contrary to popular belief, the Bible has many, many verses that are anti-discrimination against people of darker skin. In fact, here's one. Miriam and Aaron oppose Moses. This is a story of how Moses marries a Cushite, which is a Sudanese African. In some versions, she's called Negri, in other words, just black. And these two people, they oppose it because of the dark skin. God turns their skin as if it's been put in a furnace. So he makes them look like they're burned. And then they come back to their senses and God heals them because Moses asked them to. Then there's another part in the Bible where it says that Ethiopians, can't change their skin just like a leopard and all this other stuff. There's all kinds of stuff in the Bible that is pro-black. The idea that the Bible is some kind of racist book is ridiculous. This is just an attempt to fuse atheism with anti-Westernism, I guess, which I'm part of.
Africa is rich with natural resources, boundless human potential, unfathomable wisdom, and brilliant cultural traditions. And yet, colonial powers have pillaged, exploited, and divided nations and people in ways that are frankly irreparable, all without consequence. I mean, I don't know.
Less to do with Christianity and more to do with greed, which is one of the things that Christianity rails against.
Think that God would help us out a little bit. We've been through a lot, God. Maybe there's a Bible verse that we can look to. And the Lord will make you the head and not the tail. You shall be above only and not be beneath. Who is this verse about? Not only do Black people identify as Christians at a higher rate, half of Black Americans report attending church at least once a week. I was one of them. In fact, I was a pastor for a number of years. I've preached all over the country and world. I've given Bible studies. I've baptized folks. I have been in it, and these questions have been nagging me for a while. So in this video, we're going to get some answers. I talked to a couple of people. One of them...
Were you one of those pastors that you were talking about in the beginning? The real question, though, that I have is, if you were part of the religion, did you really get nothing good out of it? Is that really what happened?
Is my friend Claudia.
My name is Claudia Allen.
She is easily one of the most conscious people I know. She's well-read, tapped into history and literature, a person who is thinking about race, class, and power in very critical ways. But she's also a Christian, a preacher, and a committed member of her church.
There is no other people group on the face of the planet who has experienced the kind of suffering that is akin to the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ like Black and brown people.